Hi, welcome to the Six Report, and our topic today is gun control. I'm going to start off with a quote from George Washington. A free people not only should be armed and disciplined, but they should have sufficient firearms and ammunition to maintain a status of independence from any who might attempt to abuse them, which would include their own government. Gun control is a hot button issue right now, and it's unconstitutional for the government to take away guns from lawful gun owners, even if it's an assault rifle that carries 120 rounds. I myself do not own a gun, but I could sympathize with the gun owners because it's just not right. The levels of gun ownership in the United States, and this is by category, the percentage who own a firearm. And there's 42% of households own firearms, 30% live alone, 41% are Republicans, 27 are just independent, and 23 are Democrat. From that same poll, they took why people use these guns, like for what reasons. 67% was for protection against crime, 66% is for target shooting, 58% is for hunting purposes. Also, the death by guns has actually dropped in the last 20 years. In 1991, the U.S. murder rate was 9.8 per 100,000 people. In 2011, that murder rate dropped to 4.7, which is almost a 54% drop in the murder rate. Those last few facts I just gave were actually from BuckeyeFirearms.org. And during this, I gave a survey out to a bunch of people, including our classmates, and I interviewed a guy I work with named Jim Kiefer, and he owns an assault rifle, an AR-15, and I gave him this short little survey, and when I asked him, do you think it's right for the government to take away guns from lawful gun owners, he said, no, the government should leave gun owners alone. Stalin and Hitler took the guns, and did you see what happened to the... This proposed gun ban will give criminals more incentive and power to go and attack law-abiding citizens that don't have guns. They won't have anyone to fear. They could just go and run wild and take and rob people or whatever. It'll be a society full of criminals. Why punish the ones that obey the law? Criminals won't obey the law anyway. That's why they're criminals. So our founding fathers had a good idea when it came to this, and it's also to protect us from the government taking too much power. Stalin took away guns, Hitler took away guns, and did you see what it led to? They took over their people, and they couldn't do anything about it. So, with all being said, a gun ban is completely wrong. So it seems like in the last 10 years there's been a lot of mass shootings throughout the United States, and the one I'm going to focus on, and there's conspiracy theories behind him, and the one I'm going to focus on is the Batman shooting. James Holmes was the shooter. He was considered shy by his peers, and they thought it was out of character for what he did. And the one interesting point about this whole thing is, how does a struggling college student, he's jobless, afford to buy $20,000 worth of tack gear? He had an AR-15 that cost about $1,000. He had two guns that were a shotgun and a handgun that would cost at least $800 each. He had 30 improvised grenades. He was wearing a vest. He was wearing basically SWAT gear. So he must have had some sort of military connections to get this stuff. It's hard to get in the first place, too. James Holmes also set up booby traps in his apartment, and how does somebody who has no sort of military training or anything set up booby traps that the cops said it would take weeks for them to disarm? It doesn't make sense. So it had to have had some sort of outside help behind this whole thing. And all these, what I just brought up was from Mike Adams, and he's the editor on the naturalnews.com. Right, now I'm just going to briefly talk about a few reasons why people would want this law to be passed. I believe people are scared. They don't know. They have a fear that maybe they'll be there in a movie theater when somebody decides to shoot it up. And they feel like taking away guns like that will stop it. But I'm going to shoot down that theory. Because if somebody had a gun inside that place, don't you think it would have been less people might have died? If somebody would think and they come in there and try to shoot up a place, they in the back of their head be like, oh, what if one of these guys has a gun? And I don't know, I just feel like people need to be a little more educated on this whole fact. Now I'm just going to sum up what I just said. Guns are an important part of our country's past, and we have a great country. And I feel that the government has ulterior motives that we don't know what they're trying to do. Once they get us unarmed, we'll be at their mercy. So passing this gun ban will change the United States as we know it, and it won't be for the better. So I think people really need to start looking more into this whole topic and get a little more educated on there, and just because the world will be different if this whole thing passes. And to sum it all up, it's going to make it harder for the good people to get guns to protect themselves. Criminals will get guns regardless of any laws. They're criminals. That's all I want to basically say is they're criminals. And I just want to say a few of the sources I had on these were, I had BuckeyeFirearms.org, PolicyMike.com, JustFacts.com, and NaturalNews.com, which had a lot of good points on there. So, alright, that's it for the 6th report. Thanks for watching.
You